The last remaining place in the 2013 Grand Final has been decided, with the Queensland Firebirds booking their spot after a 4-goal win over the Melbourne Vixens in the preliminary final. They will now go face-to-face with the Adelaide Thunderbirds in the biggest showdown of the year. Which team will rise above to claim their second ANZ Championship trophy? Two teams, one game and only one winner. Who will it be? As I say hello and welcome to Centre Pass, the official video podcast of the ANZ Championship. Dan Ryan here alongside a special guest this week, none other than the captain of the Melbourne Vixens, Bianca Chatfield. Bianca, thank you for joining us. Firstly, let's start, I guess, by commiserations on the weekend. Certainly a tough way for your side to bundle out of the final series in that prelim.
Yeah, it is very tough. It's still very tough thing to take, but you know, I guess someone's got to finish third, and unfortunately it was us. So anyway, we live to fight another year, hopefully, and come out stronger next season.
Well, it is the grand final edition of Centre Pass today. We will recap the preliminary final and also preview the grand final. Let's first look back on the result from the preliminary final. It was a 4-goal victory for the Queensland Firebirds, set up on the back of a 14-7 third quarter performance. The Vixens storming home, but it wasn't enough. Queensland securing their place in the championship decider, 50 goals to 46. Bianca, let's talk about that prelim final. It was a really promising start from your team, racing out of the blocks 13-10 at quarter time. A lot of talk about your starting lineup too in the build-up. Sharelle McMahon getting the start at goal attack. Hasn't played many full games this season, but she got through it well, performed well. Things look good early for your side.
Yeah, they did. One thing we've been pretty good at most season is our starts. We've always had a great run going into the game. We wanted to reward Sharelle, I guess, for what she's put on court for the last few weeks. You know, she's ended the games well for us. She's come on as an impact player, been that real strength, and you know, she's got that heart and soul out there to win a great game like that. So that's why we started with her. And yeah, unfortunately, it is our third quarter that let us down. As in the semi, it was our last quarter that let us down. So unfortunately for us, it's just been a 3-quarter effort during the final series, and you're never going to win the grand final like that.
The Firebirds jumped out of the blocks in the second quarter. They led by 1 at half-time. You mentioned that third quarter. It was pivotal when you look at the end result. A 14-7 result in that quarter for the Firebirds. That's a lot of goals to catch up when Romelda Aiken is the target, isn't it?
It certainly is. And when Romelda's on fire, there's not much you can do about it. When the confidence that the feeders had, Revillion and Chelsea Pittman, to put that ball into Romelda, it was very hard to stop for Jiva and I. And yeah, it was a tough one, and it was just, I think, our mistakes too. When we did get those opportunities and did get those turnovers, we didn't make the most of it, and you really have to cherish possession of that ball.
Your side stormed home in the fourth quarter, got within a couple of goals late in the match. Tegan Caldwell come on late in the third and put a beautiful performance in that fourth quarter. 10 from 11 in her time out on court, doing a great job. There was a key moment there where you were pushing and surging, and then just an error costly in the end, and then the Firebirds 4-goal winners.
I know, and I'm so proud of the girls for that spirit that we found in that last quarter, because I think that we have that. We knew we had it in us, and you know, we nearly got there in the end, but we needed to find that earlier, and Tegan came on and did a great job. It was hard for her to start off, but you know, she came on and she was on fire for us, and that little short combination that you never see much in the ANZ Championship anymore really did work for us.
Bianca, your team now finishes third. As you mentioned, you did finish second at the end of the home and away season, also held top spot at certain times throughout the year. How would you sum up the season for the Vixens this year? Of course, runners-up last year, wanting to go one step better, but you've gone one step worse than 2012.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm still quite bitter about the game on the weekend, so it still hurts. But to me, I think it's just a wasted opportunity. I think last year was for us. This year, I thought we'd had a better team, we had a better preparation, but unfortunately, we couldn't get it done. So maybe it's because I'm getting older that you cherish it more every year, but I'm certainly feeling like it's a wasted opportunity.
And where to here for your team? There was a lot of personnel changes in the off-season with a new coach and I think 6 or 7 new players into your list. What do you anticipate for the year moving forward?
I actually hope that we don't make a lot of changes. I think that we've got a really good, strong core group of girls who are really supportive of each other. There's that genuine care for each other, and it's hard to find that. So I think that we have that. I would love to be able to keep hold of that. It's probably unrealistic to say that all 12 will still be there, but I hope that we keep majority of the team with Simone as a new coach and just keep working on what we set out to.
So that is how the preliminary final unfolded. The Melbourne Vixens 4-goal losers to the Queensland Firebirds 50-46. The Firebirds into the grand final. The Vixens to finish third for 2013. Let's now turn our attention to the championship decider. It is the grand final. It will be played on Sunday at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre. 9,000 fans there at the venue, a capacity crowd. The Thunderbirds up against the Firebirds. Well, Bianca, this match is going to be an absolute blockbuster, the battle of the two birds. Let's talk about their past encounters this year. It doesn't get much closer. They've met twice, of course, as the two Australian teams do. When they met in round 6, a 1-goal victory to the Adelaide Thunderbirds. When they met in round 14, just a couple of weeks ago, a 2-goal victory to the Adelaide Thunderbirds. Perhaps the Thunderbirds have the slight edge over the Firebirds this year, but there is nothing between these two sides when they go head to head.
There is absolutely nothing between them. I think it's going to be a great game. It's really interesting to know that I didn't realise how long it's been since Firebirds have beaten the Thunderbirds. I wasn't aware of had that dominance over them. I think mentally that's going to be a great thing for the Adelaide team coming into this game, to have that mental edge. I don't think it's going to mean everything, but I think it's whatever team starts the game off and gets their confidence early. I think both teams play on confidence, and I saw that specifically with the Firebirds this week when Revillion and Chelsea Pittman were feeding Romelda. They weren't even caring what was around them. They could just throw that ball in and she was pulling the ball in. So if they get their confidence up early, then they could take out that game. I do actually think, though, that Adelaide are the better team. I think they're the stronger team, and I think they will win the game.
You mentioned 2011 was the last time that the Firebirds actually beat the Adelaide Thunderbirds. That was the year the Firebirds dominated everyone and went through undefeated to win the premiership. How much of an impact do you think that will have, knowing the fact that in the 2 games they've played this year, Firebirds and Thunderbirds, late in the last quarters, the Firebirds have been in winning positions and in control of the game but have faltered and the Thunderbirds have pounced? Will that be playing on the minds of the Queensland Firebirds at all?
I'm sure they're aware of it, but I also think they'll be training for that too. I think Rosalie Jenkins is a smart coach, and she'll be making sure that they work hard at those finishing off each quarter. And they score so quickly, the Firebirds. They have the ability to score within 2 seconds, and you just never know what's going to happen. So, yeah, I wouldn't read too much into those, last couple of games anyway.
Differing preparations for both sides. The Adelaide Thunderbirds, of course, won through, didn't have to play the prelim final, so they've had the week off. They've been well rested and obviously a lot of preparation time. The Firebirds are on their 5th consecutive road trip. If we look at what they've done, they've had to go to Perth, Adelaide, Hamilton in New Zealand, Melbourne, and now back to Adelaide. That's a huge ask, but they do have momentum and a really good feel about their group as well. Which preparation would you prefer, and what are the pros and cons of both?
Oh, without a doubt, you prefer the week off. Right? I think especially because you know how much you put into the season, your body's getting sore by the end, and this is when you've got to produce your best netball. So to have a week to recover and to be able to just train and not worry about travelling or playing is crucial, and I've always preferred that method. The only time it's never worked for me was last year when we actually got it, but we didn't win the final. So that was a little bit annoying. But, I think as netballers, you do get used to the travelling. So I don't think we can read too much into the fact the Firebirds have been on the road. I think it's quite a nice team bonding experience, being away all the time. It gets you away from all the pressures when you're in your hometown. Adelaide will be going through that at the moment. There's lots of people wanting tickets and talking about the game, and they get a lot of media attention over in Adelaide, so that will come into it as well. But I think both teams will go in there. Firebirds needing probably that extra game to get them up to the grand final and to get them up to that speed that Adelaide are going to throw at them.
Grand final matches are never pretty games of netball. They're just slogfest, it's hard yakka. Skills normally go out the window. It's really a game about guts and courage, but experience is one thing in pressure situations that will come through in the end. If you look at the experience on both sides in terms of premiership wins, the Adelaide Thunderbirds, in their traditional starting 7, every single player has won a premiership in the ANZ Championship, be it with the Thunderbirds, the Swifts, or other teams, well, the Melbourne Vixens for Renee Hallinan. The Queensland Firebirds have 3 players, Romelda Aiken, Natalie Medhurst, Laura Geitz. There's a bit of difference in terms of experience in big moments there, but it does matter who puts it out there in those moments on the day, doesn't it? It
does, but I think the experience is actually what will get you through. So I think having 7 girls out there that know how to win a grand final, have experienced winning a grand final, that is what will get them through ultimately, because they know that you can't leave anything off the court. You have to put everything in and you have to fight right to the end, and that's what I felt like Thunderbirds did to us in that semi-final.
Couple of big matchups across the court. Superstars all over all areas of the court. Probably the 2 ones that most people will take interest in. Laura Geitz up against Carla Borrego, Shani Layton up against Romelda Aiken. But maybe deeper than that, it is what happens out the front of both of those combinations, both from the attacking point of view in terms of the feeds going into their target shooters, but also the restrictions that the goal defence, wing defences and centres do in terms of stopping that ball before it gets there.
Yeah, you're right. That's what happens. To stop these big, tall shooters, you need to have the defence up the court. court. And then also to take the pressure off the big tall shooters and all the focus that's on them, it's the 2 goal attacks, so Bell and Medhurst, who will play a big role. Because if those two are firing, then that does help their team to be able to not so much focus on the big shooter. They can have other ways around it. So I think there's amazing matchups actually all over the court, and it'll be an exciting game, it'll be a tough game, and I guess that's what a grand final should be.
The final matchup we want to talk about is probably the one in the mid-court. It's the master against the apprentice. Natalie Medhurst, the Australian Diamonds Natalie Von Berto, should I say, the Australian Diamonds captain. Her past month has been outstanding. Kim Revillion, lots of hype and excitement around her as being the next big thing in Australian netball. Those two going head-to-head in an ANZ Champs Grand Final will be an absolute cracker.
It will. They will scrap it out to the very end. It's just whatever ball they can get, they will try their hardest, and I think it is going to be an awesome matchup. And I think that is a key position too. They're both feeding their shooters, those two players. They're both bringing the ball down. They're both controlling the speed of the game. So yeah, I think whoever really wins that position is probably going to be the team that wins the game.
Bianca, you've played against both of these two teams in the past 2 weeks. Who was your tip for the grand final and why?
My tip is Adelaide. I think they are probably the strongest team all over the court. I think they've been the most consistent team this year, which that's the hardest thing to get, is that consistency. So, I think they'll win. I think it'll be really close. But yeah, I'll say Adelaide by about 5.
Nice tipping there, Bianca. I think I might back the Adelaide Thunderbirds as well. And of course, my normal co-host, Catherine Harvey-Williams, will be tipping the Thunderbirds too. It is going to be an absolute cracker of a game. The Thunderbirds hosting the Queensland Firebirds. Which team will hold aloft the ANZ Championship trophy? Bianca, thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for all your insights, and congratulations on a wonderful season. Not the result you wanted, but still a good season nonetheless for the Melbourne Vixens.
Thanks, Dan, and good luck.
Thank you very much. That's all we have time for this week's episode of Centre Pass. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you check out the ANZ Champs website for all of the broadcast details for this weekend's grand final. It should be an absolute beauty. Who will be the champion, the Thunderbirds or the Firebirds? Until next time, goodbye for now.